I offer you an accord.
Elden Ring finally saw the light of day, and its mere presence and brilliance staggers the gaming industry right up to this day. I am the Samurai, and I've invested 180 hours into it to ultimately present a proper review. What is Elden Ring? Does it truly satisfies and live up to its reputation? Is it one of those Game of the Year material that we have all been waiting for? Soulsborne fans embrace it rightfully, but what about new breeds or players who desire to witness its grandeur? Let us answer these questions together as we deep dive into it and look at its core. Story and presentation comes first. In the lands between, players will embrace the role of a tarnished, the protagonist of the story, and a vanished individual from the mainland. When the Elden Ring was shattered, demigods claim its shards. You as a tarnished will fearlessly begin a quest to contest these demigods and mend the Elden Ring to become the Elden Lord. The lore seems to be straightforwardly written, but I can assure you it is not. Knowing Hidetaka Miyazaki, head director of From Software, and his team, accompanied by George R.R. Martin, the award-winning novelist behind the series Game of Thrones, right from the very start, I have already expected that their brilliant minds will be shown in the game's overall progression. If you play the previous Soulsborne titles, it goes the same way with Elden Ring. Anticipate hardcore cryptic and environmental storytelling with engaging characters that have their backstories as well, motives, and goals. I was bombarded with unending questions during the early parts of the game, but as I go deeper, the story slowly reveals itself in items descriptions, key events, and places with outstanding accuracy and consistency, making a cohesive and immersive experience. When I started to dive into its lore, I immediately fell in love with it right off the bat. I assure you, lore specialists out there will surely be satisfied. Lo and behold, it is time for its core gameplay, and it is where things will start to blow off, making its greatest strength and where it truly shines. From Software applied and adapted all the valuable experiences in their previous games. If the previous Soulsborne titles have already blown your mind, expect more out of Elden Ring. It adapted numerous aspects and design of its predecessors, making a grand and cohesive experience. You can think of it as a perfected formula after years of experimentation. Longtime fans of the series will already have an idea how the design will be laid out. Staple elements of the Soulsborne genre are still present in Elden Ring. Particularly in the overall combat, each boss and regular enemy types pose a threat and have their quirks for you to figure out, paired with stamina management for your character alone, and meticulously calculated movesets for the players and their surroundings, develops memorable and punishing battles. Wisely managing your scarce recovery items on the other hand, the flask of Crimson and Cerulean Tears, your HP and MP potions in this game, mainly in the early parts of progression, is the way to go, since your neck is always on the line here as you dive into battles after battles to keep you in check. Strings of battles can be observed, especially when exploring the main dungeons in this game. As players progress, Site of Graces, also known as bonfires in the previous titles, were strategically placed all over the world. While resting on one of these sites, players can level up their characters, sort inventory, change their loadouts, replenish their flasks, or traverse the lands between, as anyone can fast travel on previously activated sites. While resting at these checkpoints also respawns all of the enemies that the player slain is part of the norm. It is how this genre was designed from the start, shedding light on its overall difficulty. The Soulsborne genre is known for its controversial difficulty, and I am sure you already heard of it if you spent quite some time in the gaming industry. Let me be clear on this one, the game is indeed challenging and it will test the limits of our abilities that will make us better players at the end of the day, and I love it. Major boss fights are the meat of the game and often result in celebrated triumphs or the other way around, leading to unforgettable encounters and experiences. This is where the devs flex their creativity, and I can't stress out how great these fights are, paired with eargasmic soundtracks that elevate the experience on another level, and it is just mind-blowing. From Software ensure that both hardcore fans and newcomers will be satisfied with the newly enhanced combat. As you progress and kill enemies, you gather runes as drops, the most important currency in the game to level up your character and allocate stats depending on what build you desire that matches your playstyle. There are tons of unique builds, special weapons, armors, skills, and playstyles to explore. Molding your character to almost anything that you want it to be perfectly defines the RPG genre. You want to be a pure samurai like me that shreds enemies in seconds, or be like Guts from Berserk that swings a monstrous sword, or be a spellmaster that has a wide selection of spells, or be a jack of all trades that adapts on any situations taking advantage of the crafting system. Even though I was not able to play with crafting that much, I can imagine it being useful for other players since you can craft on the get-go after gathering materials in the field. You already have your wondrous character builds and playstyles. Players can take on challenges in different ways by summoning other players or NPCs, which we've already known for years now, or with the latest feature where you can summon Ashen Remains. Ashen Remains are a handful of spirits that you can choose from and can aid you in your battles, and each and one of them has its strength and weaknesses, and they can be leveled up as well to improve their overall efficacy. Determining when or how to use them greatly affects the tides of battle, and it is From Software's way of alleviating the difficulty for the newcomers out there. Although I avoid using these spirits, particularly the overpowered ones, when dealing with boss fights and even in multiple ones, as it affects the individual's experience. It dampens the difficulty greatly, at least in my case, so I preserve the classic playstyle where my sword and timing are all that matters. This is just for me though, and for my self-training, and there are a lot of ways to beat this game, leading to the conclusion that anyone can make this game as hard or easy as they want it to be if explored deeply. Let me know what you think about this topic in the comments, and I am excited to hear your thoughts. In these aspects alone, players can already see the value it's offering and how widely diversified the combat is, but I am not done yet. Combat was already a deal breaker for me, what more if you mix it with outstanding level designs and visuals. In my entire gaming history, never did I encounter any game with such a level design as good as this. Now what do I mean by this? They leaped and made it an open world game. You have your overworld, which is the lands between, with breathtaking sceneries and landscape which I usually pause for a while to enjoy its wonders, a massive world intended to be explored in long hours. In each region, there are hidden caves, mines, castles, catacombs, and dungeons waiting to be discovered. Each of these level types has its creative layouts and with a fair amount of length, but I want to stress out and focus on what we call legacy dungeons, or the main dungeons in this game. Aside from its beauty or visuals, there are no words to describe how intricately and meticulously designed these legacy dungeons are. Aside from the major bosses where From Software flexed the best of their abilities, they harnessed and applied all of their knowledge in the past years and gave their all when they designed these legacy dungeons. Each of them has its unique characteristics and prepared challenges that will satisfy anyone who dares to uncover its secrets. Being lost for hours while exploring these maze-like dungeons was a regular thing for me, and it is damn rewarding when I get to finally clear one. These dungeons usually house the major bosses in the game, so you'll know what to expect. As the player explores and clears the said dungeons in the overworld, it contributes to their progress by getting items and equipment that will vastly improve their builds and ultimately reach the end goal. During my entire journey, the game never failed to incentivize my hunger to explore as I kept on asking for more. My first playthrough in this game was completely blind, meaning I didn't use any guides, resulting in a solid experience. Spending hours in those fields or regions on a constant lookout of progress provided value worth remembering, and I always find myself asking what could lie ahead, leading to my next point, the overall progression. This is an open world game with a little guidance, so players will have the freedom to explore a staggering amount of 60 to 70% of the map, depending on how strong their builds are or how good they are in terms of playing the game. Each player can have different experiences of progression or path, and this is quite something. The difficulty curve, on the other hand, was well kept and maintained throughout my journey, ranging from standard enemies to major bosses, leading to constant progress. While I question the overall difficulty, on the other hand, of the secret areas in the northern region where enemies can one-shot you even with high-level decent builds, comparable to the hardest difficulty setting of FromSoft's previous titles, which is New Game Plus 7. I don't mind this kind of difficulty, but for newcomers, this can be quite a challenge and needs to be tweaked. For those who completed the game, let me know what your thoughts in the comments below. I am referring mostly to the secret areas of the northern region, so there's a chance that players may or may not stumble upon it, making things a little bit fair. Let's talk about the game's performance, where it suffers a little bit. It will be highly appreciated if these issues will be addressed in future patches. Occasional frame drops occur when exploring the overworld, and there were areas where the drops were too noticeable in my case, or when engaged with boss fights that deal with a lot of tremors or being flooded with visual effects. Frames per second range from 45 to 60 at least on PS5. It's quite low, to be honest, and fortunately, this is the only notable issue that I encountered so far. Up to the point of this writing, quest issues, visual bugs, and more were already been fixed with the latest patch. While an endgame, optional dungeon or area bosses need a rehaul due to repeated fights. These dungeons are well thought out and challenging, however, discovering the same bosses at the end of it drags and affects the overall experience. A wide variety of bosses are indeed welcome in this situation, and these are just minor flaws that can easily be disregarded as the game's positive points overshadows it all. That wraps up its core gameplay, and replayability comes next. This shouldn't be a question judging by the points of how the gameplay was rolled out. Elden Ring is bursting with content. After spending 180 hours in my first playthrough, the sheer amount of content that I haven't touched on makes me want to go on. After covering the majority of the world, there are still secret areas or dungeons to visit, tied up to cryptic NPC questlines that overlap with one another or can easily be missed, which I don't even know where to start. These questlines provides value, as the majority of them rewards the player with unique items and types of equipment. Therefore, completing all of them is a must in my take. Or you could hunt legendary weapons and spirits that you missed during post-game. If you feel like you are ready to move on, you can engage in New Game Plus, allowing you to start fresh with almost of your progress intact, however losing your key items and questline progress in the process. The most important thing here is it will let you keep your character builds and items, and this is a standard formula of the previous titles, and let this be a fair warning, every new game cycles bumps up the difficulty, so it will breed new challenges as your enemies will hit harder and have a higher HP pool. Adding icing on the cake is you have the freedom to reset your stats to plunge yourself into a wide variety of character builds after defeating a certain boss in the game. It will let you undergo rebirth and may provide even more value and tons of fun, making your journey fresh with your new fancy playstyle. Experimentation is limitless due to the sheer amount of equipment, spells, and skills available in the game. If you are into the player versus player experience, this game will not disappoint you. Right after this day, the PvP communities of the Soulsborne titles are pretty much alive and active for years now, and Elden Ring will be no different. Or play co-op and help your friends or other tarnished in their journey to become Elden Lords. In this day and age, the gaming industry standards keeps on getting higher and higher. With all of the new releases of the AAA titles lately, it's been a while since something like this would happen, and it is all that we'd hoped for. Time for the final score for Elden Ring. By all rights, a solid 10 out of 10 and is marked one of the essentials recommended by your samurai. From Software broke the long silence with the latest entry, and it is a close to perfect piece and a byproduct of years of experimentation and experience. Elden Ring will be a major stepping stone and an example that every game needs to follow in the upcoming years. An essential masterpiece beyond exceptional, worthy to be the game of the year. Answering the question, should the newcomers give it a try? It's a hell and a big yes. I am excited for every one of you since this game offers a lot of freedom, specifically when this is your first entry in the genre. Be wild with your builds and Godspeed beating all the challenges it has to offer. It is not for everyone, and we all know it by now, but for those who want to brave the unknown, you have my sincerest bow. That is all from me for this review, and I always give my thanks to the developers who are making these games to see the light of day. FromSoft, you guys did a splendid job. For my lords and ladies, let me know what your thoughts about Elden Ring. Do you think that is it an amazing game? If you disagree with my review, comment down below and let's talk about it. And as always, if you learned a thing or two or you enjoyed this video, hitting the like button will tremendously help us in a long mile. If you are new to this channel, consider subscribing and clicking the notification bell so you guys can be updated with our latest uploads every week. If you would like to support us, please do visit our Patreon page or you can buy me a coffee. Links in the description section below. Follow me on socials and let's connect. Links in the description as well. Thank you for watching, and as always, keep supporting the samurai. Stay awesome and safe, and I'll catch you on the next one.